Alright, so this is going to be my first video on my new channel on YouTube. Welcome for those of you that end up watching this. This is going to be a video on my setup for the year, what I'm going to be shooting, as well as some arrow tuning out here in the yard. It's actually a beautiful day down here in South Georgia. The Hurricane Idalia just passed through and unfortunately caused a lot of damage elsewhere, but here in the yard just had a few limbs come down, and fortunately the weather is currently in the upper 70s, which is an oddity for us. So I'm going to take advantage of this weather and shoot some arrows so I don't, just melt like I do every other day. But let's give you a quick rundown of what I'll be shooting this year, my bow, and then talk about how I'm going to be tuning this other set of arrows. First and foremost, this is my bow, a Mathews V3X 2022 with the bridge lock sight. I got a really good deal from a friend on the bow, minimal use, last year's bow. The sight was free from a very good friend, so I'm very fortunate to have friends like that. I had another friend recently come down and help me get this bow set up for season. Here in Southwest Georgia, our archery season starts September 9th, so we're about 2 weeks away from the beginning. So I've already got the majority of my arrows tuned, but I still have 6 more that I would like to get started. Now, in terms of the arrow I'll be shooting this year, I'm shooting Black Eagle Renegade with I think these are 350 spine, and I'm shooting a VPA 3-blade 3/8 inch, or I think it's 1 3/8 inch broadhead, 150 grains. The insert on these Black Eagle Renegades are 52 grains, and then my buddy refletched my arrows with these AE hybrids, 4 fletchings. I prefer to have 4 fletchings, as well as this color scheme, since I don't use lighted nocks, is really going to stick out. Either, just shooting them in the yard and I lose an arrow, or when I'm actually hunting, I'll be able to find this arrow and not having a lighted nock in some tall grass. So really excited to shoot the Black Eagle Renegades this year. They've done really well for me so far, practicing the end of last year and into this one. So based on what I've seen so far, I shouldn't have any trouble with this arrow this year. So what I've been trying to do in terms of tuning these arrows for flight is you start out with the nock, you get a Sharpie and put a line on it so you know where it's lined up, and then you do a quarter turn of this nock based on its flight pattern. If it's flying straight after 2 or 3 shots right where you're aiming, then you just need to leave it where it is. But if it's not, then you do a quarter turn of this nock until it shoots comparatively to the other arrows. So that's what we're going to do. And then basically, once you find where that nock is perfectly on that arrow, that black line that I have there on the nock, you actually extend it down to where it covers the arrows, like you see over here on some of these. So that way, if the nock ever gets accidentally turned, you can line it back up with where it's supposed to be, so that arrow is always flying straight. So let's get to it. I also wanted to mention that I practice with 150 grain field points, and you guys are probably wondering what my arrow weight is, as well as my draw weight on my bow. I currently have my V3X to about 62, 63 pounds, and all together with my arrow, it's about 495 grains. So I'm really going to be packing a punch. Personally, my personal preference with arrow setups is shoot a heavier arrow with fixed blades. There's all kind of politics that I would be happy to talk about in the comments or whatever, but that's my personal preference, and I've had a lot of success with it in the past. So let's get to tuning these arrows. All right, so this first arrow, bullseye at 20. I'm happy with where that nock is. I'm gonna shoot it one more time. As you can tell, after shooting some broadheads in this target, my arrows are just blowing right through it. But here's a quick tip about arrows that go into your target. If you pull this arrow straight through from the other side of the target, you're more than likely to rip your fletchings off. It's better to push them straight back this way than to push them all the way through, because if you push them straight back this way, your fletchings will not rip off nearly as much. As I mentioned before, now that this nock is where I want it to be in terms of flight of my arrow, I extended that Sharpie line down onto the shaft so that if this nock ever gets accidentally turned in a different direction, I know where it needs to be so my arrow always flies true. So now let's do the rest of these. All right, y'all, well, those arrows flew really great. It was a good little shooting session. I already had the 6 arrows that I'm gonna use for hunting season done, but it's always good to have 6 backups. So I got those pretty much dialed. I may throw some broadheads on them and mess with them here in the next week or two, but overall, I hope you guys enjoyed the setup video. If you have any further questions, comment below, and hopefully I'll be uploading another video sometime in the future. Cheers.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home and drown my troubles away. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to